It's been North America's favourite family car for well over a decade. On this edition of Test Drive, the Toyota Camry.
The reason the Toyota Camry has been North America's favourite family sedan is simple. It does everything expected of it well. No, it doesn't stand out in any particular area, but when the family has to get from A to B, it does it in style. It holds 5 realistically and has a cavernous trunk. Sure, the style is about as exciting as dry toast, but at least the latest Camry has a hint of flash to its overall visage, and this in spite of the evolutionary nature of the rework. You know, Toyota did take a rather conservative approach to the exterior styling. They didn't spare a dime when it came to the interior. The materials are much nicer, the layout is much nicer, and if you go with the XLE, you get a ton of equipment. There are, however, a couple of pet peeves. Number one, these audio controls, they look like they were very much an afterthought. The second thing has to do with the navigation system. You look on the center stack, nowhere does it say this car has a navigation system. You have to push the app button, then push the map button, then push the confirm button, because after all, they don't want you driving through a river instead of taking the bridge. The point is, they've turned a one-touch operation into a chore. Where Toyota do need to be taken to task is under the hood. With the exception of an extra gear in the manumatic transmission, the motivation carries over from the previous generation Camry. The test car arrived with a base 2.5-litre 4. It puts out 178 horsepower and 170 pound-feet of torque. Not outstanding numbers by any stretch, but enough to negotiate the cut and thrust of a morning commute and pass a slower car when the need arises. Loading the car up with passengers does blunt the edge a little, but not enough to worry. It does, however, make the up-level 268 horsepower V6 an important choice for anyone wanting more than acceptable.
The automatic transmission on this Camry has a manual mode, which is a bit of an oxymoron in the first place. However, it has a very annoying trait. Whenever you shift from drive to manual, the gearbox automatically downshifts from 6th gear to 4th gear, and it does so without regard for speed, which forces the driver to put it back into the correct gear. My question is, why on earth is there an automatic mode on the manual side of the gearbox? It makes no sense whatsoever.
When it comes to ride quality, the Camry is the Japanese Buick. It takes a pretty gnarly bit of road to get the suspension to feed the jostle back to the passengers. In this regard, the ride is first rate. The flip side sees an overall setup being a little too soft to provide any real semblance of handling. Certainly the amount of roll is limited to a handful of degrees, and the feedback afforded by the steering is all it should be in spite of the electric assist.
In the rear seat of this Camry, it will accommodate 3 adults realistically. There's plenty of legroom, plenty of headroom, and because there's no tunnel intrusion, the poor soul that draws the short straw, well, he's got somewhere to put his feet. The other thing I do like, when you fold the seat back down, it's finished in a hard plastic. That means that under an emergency stop, what's in the trunk stays in the trunk.
Needless to say, the Camry bobbed as much as it weaved on its way through the pylons. In fairness, a big part of the mushy feel was down to the snow tyres on the test car. They allowed the Camry to slip into understeer long before it otherwise would. The final part of the handling equation is a sophisticated stability control system. It manages to keep the Camry pointed in the right direction and in tune with the driver's wishes.
You know, a lot of people will decry the fact that Toyota didn't push the Camry's stylistic or powertrain envelopes far enough, especially in light of the Hyundai Sonata and Kia Optima. But you know what? It really doesn't matter, because this car is not about to lose its favourite status anytime soon.